Okay, so now the recording is start. So welcome everyone to in the Salesforce Apex Hour, and today again we are come back with a new topic, and today topic is the Winter 18, and in this we are going to talk about how the Winter 18 will be going to help the help to the Salesforce developers. And today we have a special guest again with us. Thank you so much, Jitendra Zaa, for joining us and giving the time over the weekend. So I really appreciate all your time and everything. So let me tell you about myself, who I am. So my name is Amit Chaudhary. I'm the co-organizer of the Farmington Hill Salesforce Developer Group. Apart from them, I'm also active on Salesforce Developer Community, and I'm also a blogger at amitsalesforce.blogspot.in. And apart from that, last week only I get a Salesforce MVP title, so I'm happy for that. And today our speaker is Jitendra Zaa. So let me hand over to the Jitendra. So I hope this will be really better. Like Jitendra will be give his introduction. Let's hand over to Jitendra. So Jitendra, you can share your screen now.
Sure. Let me see. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Hello.
Yeah, we are able to see your screen and we are able to hear you, Jitendra.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Salesforce Apex Hours Saturday. And thank you, Amit, for organizing this and getting us to get all together. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you, Amit, for being a Salesforce MVP, and all your hard works and dedication to the Salesforce Ohana has been recognized. So welcome to the community.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So we already know about the Amit. Uh, Amit is a little bit of introduction basically. So Amit is active on developer community. He's also his blog, co-organizer of Farmington Salesforce Developer User Group, newly minted Salesforce MVP. About me, I'm a Jitendra Zaa, and I'm also a Salesforce MVP and technical architect working in a Cognizant. And today's session is basically all about I will say Winter 18. In Winter 18, what do we have for the developers, and what are the new Lightning-based components has been introduced, and from there we will go to the data services and couple more items like how can we conditionally render component, how the automatic styling of Visualforce works, what are the some enhancements on the debug log. There are pretty impressive enhancements in flow. Every developer is a Salesforce admin first, so that is the reason we cannot ignore the cool enhancement of the flow, and that is the reason I have included that as well. And how to implement a custom templating in a Lightning component, so that is also I'm going to cover. Now this is just a short list, and these are all my favorite feature, and there are so many other different features available on the Winter 18. You can go through the release notes, and there are lots of other blogs as well where you can refer. So let's get started. If you have any question, just drop a question on chat, and at the end either we can go through the chat and you guys can ask a question. So let's get started. So first topic I would like to cover is what are the new Lightning based components. So I'm pretty sure most of you already know what is the base components in the Lightning. So base components are so basically let's try to understand a little bit about the Aura framework. And I know most of you already know, but just want to reiterate. So basically anything on the browser at the end needs to be in HTML. So anything we do in Salesforce, in Visualforce page, in the Lightning, it has to be an HTML output. Now what Salesforce did is Salesforce came up with the Aura framework. So that's a wrapper I will say on the top of HTML, and that's a great framework. A lot of cool features like the lightning inheritance, the variable binding. And on the top of Aura framework, we implement our logic. On the top of Aura framework, there is the UI components initially provided by the Salesforce. Now, on the top of Aura framework, Salesforce also came up with the Lightning-based components. So Lightning-based components are nothing but it is an HTML component, but the style sheets and everything is as per the Salesforce Lightning Design System, SLDS. So that's all I mean, it will save a lot of our time instead of creating everything from scratch, doing our own style sheet. And in each release, let's say if Salesforce changes SLDS, the chances of breaking our own components are pretty high. So instead of reinventing the wheel, Salesforce has come up with the base component long time back. And this release, there are many new Lightning based components, but I will share some of my favorite. So this is the demo page I have created, and one of my favorite Lightning based component is a data table. We all are sometime we're in the need of the data table. Either we create our own data table component sorry, and they are pretty much open source, and the blog articles available how to create your own data table component. But if you have created any data table component, you know the pain. I mean, you have to think about how to render the header, how to iterate through the rows, columns, how to format them. So in this example, you can see we have an amount column, and that is already formatted. We have an email column which has an email hyperlink. Then we have phone number, which is already. So Lightning data table component, or the base component, this is the format. Basically, how do we use? So we have to use a data table in the Lightning namespace of the component. We have to provide the data, we have to provide the column information, and we have to provide the ID, which is a key field in our case. And what should happen on the row selection? So in this demo purpose, if I select, let's say, equip, I'm clicking on the row. It is right now giving me a pop-up saying, okay, you have selected the component name, that's equip. If I select another component here, it will give me the comma separated that you have selected Cloud Hub and you have selected equip. So for each component, it will go iterate and it will give me that what are the components selected. If I select the top checkbox, so it will say you have selected equip, you have selected Cloud Hub. So let's see, let's directly jump into this component, how this component works. And so this is the demo I have created. Demo Lightning applications. I will simply go, I will open this component here. So like we see this component, we have provided data to this component. We have provided the column information, and we have said that, okay, the key field is ID, and on the row selection, call this method. Now we have an init handler here on the Lightning component. So let's see first exactly what init does. So init will go on controller. It will call on helper init. And in it, we see that we are setting up columns. So column information is nothing but what is the label of that column, what would be the field name, and what would the type of that column. So we can see that at the column level, we define that, okay, this type is text, this type is percentage, it's a currency, or email or phone. So, and because of that, Salesforce is automatically rendering its type. So if we see it's a percentage, 7820. So this is because of the type percentage we have declared. So you can indirectly say that column attribute is nothing but the meta attribute of this component. And if we go about the data, it's a simple JSON object. So we are saying that, okay, because you are saying that field name, what are the field names? You are saying field names are opportunity, and then you're saying field names are amount, contact. So from this data, it will get this field names, it will render accordingly. So that's pretty easy and straightforward to use. You don't have to reinvent wheel, you don't have to write anything scratch, just use this component and you're all set to go. Now the best part is it also gives you an event that what should be happening on the row selection. So we are saying, okay, once the row is selected, call this method. So if we go on this method on controller, it again delegates to the helper. If we go on helper, it's a very simple, we are just getting an event saying, okay, give us the selected rows. We simply iterate through it, and it will give us this whole JSON object. Now in this whole JSON object, whatever we want to get, it's like right now we are printing the opportunity name, but you can print amount, contact, or anything. So that's pretty impressive component, and this is one of my favorite component, and that's the reason I have put it at the top. So let's go on the next component. Anyone have any question here? So let's instead of waiting at the end, maybe we can discuss here. Perfect. Okay. So anyways, we will get a chance to discuss everything at the end. So we will go ahead and we will go on the next component. Now this component is a checkbox group. So, and the best part is, again, it's a base component. So rendering, style sheet, everything is done by the Salesforce. All the heavy lifting is done by Salesforce. And like checkbox group, we can, and right now it's a mandatory checkbox. Mandatory field, I said that required is true. If you can see on my screen. So if I go outside, it gives a pretty good user interface, the red colored error message, just like the old Visualforce page days where we get lots of things out of the box from the Visualforce component. So this is also pretty straight. We have to provide the label, we have to provide name, what are the options, and what should be happening on change behavior, and then we have to say it's required true or false. So we will quickly jump into the component. So I will close the I will open this component quickly. And as you can see, this component only has, so these are the value. We have to provide option and value, and on the controller side, all we are doing is alerting the value whatever we have selected. So if I go back here, if I select rows, it will give me that, oh, you have selected option 1. And how did we set the values here? So these are the options here we have selected. So options are, it's a key value pair kind of. So we have to show what would be label, what would be the value, and then we have to say that, okay, what is the selected value? So right now we are saying, okay, by default the selected, whatever the selected value is, and it will show us. So that's our checkbox group component. Let's go on the next component. Now this is also pretty impressive component, dual list box. So basically it's a list box, but I mean, you can add, you can remove, you can sort using, and pretty good icons here. Again, Salesforce Lightning Design System has been used, so no need to reinvent anything. And best thing is you can capture the on change event. That what exactly? So let's say English I'm selecting, so it will give me, you have selected value en, it will show it here. I will say select Spanish, so it will show here. We can change the sequence as well here, so Spanish goes up. So all behavior by default by Salesforce. And if we jump to this component again, pretty simple, again, pretty straightforward. Controller is simply saying that, okay, on change event what should be done, and we are just alerting the value. And if we go at component level, and what are the options? So if option is exactly the same as a checkbox group, again we have to provide label and we have to provide value. So that's all. So again, this is a very cool component, and I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of use cases and very helpful. Now the next component is a progress indicator, and this is, again, it's very easy to use. So actually this component is a combination of parent and the child lightning component. Also parent component is a lightning progress indicator, and it would be having a nested component which would be lightning progress step, and it will tell us that, okay, what would be the step. So these label are nothing but the tooltip. So if I move my cursor here, you can see the tooltip is coming as step 1, step 2, 3. And then once these are selected, these are the values. And right now we have attribute saying what is the current step. So we are saying, okay, current step selected is 3. And then there is a type which says what is the type of this progress indicator, and we are saying base. So this is a basic progress indicator. Let's quickly jump into this as well. again, just so you can see in the lightning bundle, we have not done anything. It's exactly the same we are showing here, and that's how simple to render. Now we can do a lot of thing here. Now this lightning progress step, we can have iterator here. We can do the apex call out. We can call apex controller, get the response from apex controller, and iterate that response. And on each iteration, just render the lightning progress step. So that's how easy it is. We just need to combine as per our need, and the progress indicator is ready for us. Now this is pretty cool, lightning progress indicator. So this is exactly same component as the previous. The only difference is here type we are saying base, and here type we are saying path. And you see the cool effect if I move my cursor here, just exactly the path component of the standard Salesforce, and then we can select these. If I go back again, nothing changed other than the, and if I go back here, other than the type. So this is the only thing, type changed. You can see no controller, no helper, no style sheet, all out of the box. So that's pretty good component, again very handy. Coincidentally, I already used this lightning component before winter 18. I was in a huge, I will say, need. I couldn't wait for the winter 18, and once I used it after 1 or 2 months, I blocked it. And after the blogging, I know, oh my god. So let me show you one sample here, what I did exactly. So I did a lot of hard work. So I blocked it around September of 17th, but I have been using this component, I guess, from the last 2 to 3 months. That time, no winter 18. I didn't knew that winter 18 is going to come. And as you guys can see, how much I did. I mean, I have created my own custom component. I came up with my own style sheet, and then all those pain and everything. Now everything is gone, and just I have to use this. So that's great. I mean, why should we use our custom if we already have a out of the box from the Salesforce? So that is the reason it's a pretty good component and very useful. I was already in need. I was in need of the read-only component, and you can modify it as per your wish. Let's go on the next component, and that's the lightning progress bar. Very easy. Lightning progress bar, all you have to do is give the value. So let me, before doing the demo, let me go back and open the progress bar here. So here what we are doing, lightning progress bar, all we have to do is give the value. And here you can see, I created there is a start button. I'm clicking on the start button, and it's increasing. And stop, and stopped. If you, so this is basically, I'm calling the toggle. All we have to do is change this progress value. You change it between 0 to 100, and it will render accordingly. So what if you go on controller, there is a timer, and we are on all, 200 millisecond, this timer is updating the progress. So every 200 millisecond the progress is increased by 1, and that's how it's getting rendered. Again, lightning base, pretty impressive. So that's the progress bar component. Next component, and I will say the last component in my list, is the lightning slider. So as you can see, I'm changing the slider, and you just observe this value. This value is getting changed here. So again, from between 0 to 100, we can scroll. Right now, its mode is horizontal. You can also have a, so here type we say horizontal. If we have a vertical, then it will render as a vertical. So let's quickly jump into the code. Slider code. And again, you see, this is the exactly same. All I'm doing is on change event, I'm calling a method handle range change. And all I'm doing is setting up the values of my component. And that's it. So that's the, I will say, pretty impressive, all the lightning based component. Now this is not the only list of the lightning based component. These are my favorite lightning based component. There are many other components as well which might interest you, and I would suggest to go to the release notes and check out what are your favorite components. So let's go back to our presentation. So we already checked what are some of the new Lightning based components released in winter 18. Next part. I'm not sure how many of you know. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so I'm not sure how many of you know about this trick, but let's see here. So this is my instance. If I copy this URL here, and if I go my Aura docs and enter, so it will open the Aura documentation right into your org. So you don't have to refer any documentation, anything, or you don't have to remember any URL. Just go here, click on the reference. Let's wait a little bit. And it will give you the whole documentation of the Aura framework. It will give you the documentation of Aura component, Lightning component here. So these are all the Lightning components. So for example, if I go on slider component here, I clicked on the slider component. Right here I have all the example. What are the dependencies? So dependencies examples might not be there, but overview you can see it give you every information. So you don't really have to go to the developer guide or anywhere. This is right into your org. Now this is something already exists. It's nothing has to do with the winter 18, but what really has to do winter 18 is this one. Component library. This is something very new, or all you have to do is you have to go to your main domain URL and then you have to type component reference/suite.app. So I will go back here and I will say component reference suite.app. And Salesforce Lightning Design System kind of the documentation is already in front of you. So again, it's your instance. You don't have to go to a documentation or anything. And now the difference between, I will say, this and this, this is all the documentation, everything is good, but this component library, which is new in winter 18, look and feel is exactly like Salesforce Lightning Design System. It will give you the output very well documented, and like demo. So exactly the same demo which I have used is from here only. Just copy paste and try. So again, here you can see all the Aura components. If you scroll down, you will see all the force component. You can see all the Lightning namespaces are the actually the base components and all those documentations here. One thing which I didn't found here is your custom component. But if we go on the Aura documentation, we can see our custom. So these are all my custom component. Right now I have not added any documentation, so it will not show anything. But yeah, so this is my slider custom component. It is showing me my GS. I have not added any example, so example is not available, but every information is here. So I think that's the only thing missing from the Aura to component library. I'm pretty sure Salesforce will come up with something in the next release. So this is something new in winter 18. Let's go back. Let's go to the next topic. Now the Lightning data service. Most of you should already know about. If you are already from the Visualforce background, you know about there is a concept of standard controller in Visualforce. So standard controller means you don't have to write any Apex class. All the crude behavior like reading, update, delete, and create operations you can do directly from the Visualforce page previously. Now in the Lightning, for the long time, this was not supported. Lightning data services came as a pilot, then beta, and now from winter 18, Lightning data service is generally available. And you can perform the CRUD operations and you don't have to write a single line of Apex code. So let's see data service in action. I will close this. We are done here as well. Let's go back here. So basically what I will do is I will open an account record, sample account record. And here you can see these are the two components. Now this component will load some information from account, and this component will edit the information about account. So you can see that account name is Burlington Textile Corp of America. Same information is being displayed here. Account site CT, same information is being displayed here. So this, we are able to get the information from account without writing a single apex line. And if let's say I update it, Burlington Textile Corp of America, let's say I changing city to Connecticut, and observe this and this. So you can see it's not only updating its own value, it is triggering an event, it is updating the actual value on the record, it is again updating. So the question is how it is being done. I mean, we have not written a single line of apex code. And think about it, if you don't have a data service, how will you do? So you create a two component, okay, you are updating value here, that's fine, but how will this component know? Of course you have to fire an event, maybe the application level event, where the communication between these two components will be happening. That's good, but how about this one? How we are going to tell the parent page that okay, something has been changed? All, I mean, at the most what you can do is reload the whole page once everything is done, but again that would be the wastage of resources. So just assume you would be having two apex classes, one apex class to read, one apex class to edit. You have to write multiple SQL. So think about the performance of the system if there is no data service. So how the data service does is, if you are using a, so let's go back on code first. I can explain code, and then we will understand basically how the data service works. So I will, so there are two component I have. So one, let's go back on account display component here. So all you have to do is you have to use a force record. So that's a force component, Salesforce record data component. You have to say the layout type. So layout type means it will tell us that how many fields do we need to fetch. So when you say that layout type is full, so basically this lightning component or the data service will fetch every field which is on this full page layout, and it can have two value, either full or compact. You have to provide the record ID. Record ID can easily accessible using this interface, which says force has record ID, so no magic is here. If any error occur, error would be in this variable, and this is basically the record. So what this component will do, it will fetch the union of these fields and these layouts. It might be possible that layout does not have every field. So in that case, what we can do is we can add some more field. So total number of field in SQL internally would be the combination of layout and combination of fields. And what do we, so right now in view mode, we don't need this event, but let's say in edit mode, when you are changing it, we have to inform everybody that, okay, information has been changed. So now you can see on controller side, I'm just logging saying that record is loaded successfully, no apex call here. If so, this source code is for this component. So let's go to the other component, which is the edit mode. Sorry. So I will go account edit component. Account edit component is almost same. The only difference is mode I have written as an edit mode here. If we go back on here, there is no mode written. So mode can be either view or mode can be edit mode. So edit mode will tell us that, okay, this data service is going to change the information, and there is a record update event. So we have to go on controller here. So what needs to be happen when the record is updated, and record can be updated from this screen as well. So if I change any information here, so just check out, I am changing the account name from the standard Salesforce. So let's say if I change from here corp simply to corp, and I'm saving it. So Salesforce will inform the record change events to these all two component, and these are the record update event we will get. And once the record is updated, all we have to do is we have to reload our record. But the question is, how did we save it? So once I click on the save account, how we are saving it, so this is the line which we are using to save the information here. So I'm saying, okay, component.find, this account record is nothing but the Lightning data service. We are saying save record, and save record is an internal callback method, and it will tell us the status of the record save. That's all. So you will get information, the status is success or there is an error, or let's say there is a draft or incomplete. So different meaning of the status you can find on the documentation. One pretty impressive status is incomplete. So basically it Lightning data service by default supports the offline event. So let's consider that you are using your mobile phone, you are trying to update something and suddenly you lost your connection. So what Salesforce one will do is it will save that information in cache, and that time its status would be draft. As soon as you get an internet connection, it will try to save your record again. If it's success, that's pretty good. If there is any error, you can easily display an error. So that's all from the data service side. I have written a blog post as well on the data service a long time back. Let me see. You can go through that blog post and it explains Salesforce documentation, pretty impressive. You can go through the Salesforce documentation as well. So one thing I want to show here is how this is happening. So if there is no data service, let's say three components wants to access some information, let's say about account, we are making a duplicate server call and unnecessary wastage of the server resources, and that problem is solved by the Lightning data service. So let's go on the next feature. So that's all from the data service side. Let me close all this. Wow, this is one of my favorite feature. Conditional rendering of the Lightning components. Let's jump into this example itself. So right now, let's say we have two Lightning component, okay? Can be any custom component, but for the sake of example, what I will do is I will go to the app builder page, and every Lightning component now supports the conditional rendering. So what I will do is this component, I click this, so this is a custom component I have, and this feature is newly added in the winter 18. It says set component visibility, and I'm adding a filter, and I'm saying that, okay, if account, let's say name, contains Lex, then only display it, otherwise, and see the icon got changed. So all the icons are all components are normal, but this is a conditional rendering of the component. And even here we can, even the standard these components, right, we can add a condition here as well. So anywhere we can add a condition saying, okay, we want to render this component conditionally. In our case, render this component only when name contains a word Lightning Lex. So I'm saving it. Let's go back on account page. So now you see only one component is here. So second component is gone, and the reason is account name does not contain word Lex. So I'm adding, okay, Lightning component Lex here. I'm saving it and see. So there could be lot of use cases around that, and one of the best feature I will say in the Lightning experience. So that's all on the rendering part. Let's jump to the Next topic, client payload limit increased. So basically lightning component, so let's say if your lightning component has to make 2 or 3 server calls, how Salesforce will do is it will not do individual server calls if it's between a very short time frame. What basically it will do is it will batch all your server side action in a queue and it will make a single server call. Now before the winter 18, the previous limit was 1 megabyte and chances could be high that you are hitting this limit, but in this winter 18 Salesforce has increased it into the 4 megabytes. So I will say it brings the more power to the lightning component. They have increased payload limit for the JavaScript remoting as well. So let's say if you are using a JavaScript remoting, how much data you can send to the Visualforce page, that was also previously 1 megabyte. Now after winter 18, it is also increased to 4 MB. So that's all in this side. Okay, automatic styling of Visualforce. Now this is in beta, but let me show you, give you a direct demo. So what I will do is I will change my look and feel first to the Salesforce Classic, and I will open one Visualforce page which I have created for this demo, and let me see if I can find it quickly. Okay, winter 18 demo Visualforce page, and it's a pretty simple Visualforce on the contact, and simply shows me all the list view of the contact, and it just uses a page block and select list on page block table. So if I say I have to preview this, so this is a Visualforce page, and I simply say, okay, show me all my contacts. It is showing me all my pretty good. So this is a Visualforce page. This is in Lightning. This is in Classic, sorry. Now let me change my interface to the Classic Salesforce Lightning experience. So I moved myself from Classic to the experience, Lightning experience. I have a same Visualforce page. Now let me refresh this page and see it's rendered in Lightning. I have exactly same. So imagine if you have to do it with before winter 18. So let me show you one of my blog posts and you will understand the pain. 1 minute. Perfect. So this is exactly what you have to do basically before winter 18. So before winter 18, you have to detect a theme saying that, okay, is this theme a Lightning desktop theme? And then you have to have a 2 output panel, and rendering condition should be something like this. If it is not Lightning desktop, then render the classic view. If it is a Lightning desktop, then you have to add your own SLDS card. A lot of pain. You have to understand. You have to do a lot of work. Now with winter 18, all you have to do is this tag, which is a Lightning style sheet is equals to true, and that's all. Salesforce will handle rendering your classic Visualforce page to the Lightning experience. Like it said, it's still in beta. A lot of thing has to be done here, but Salesforce, I'm pretty sure maybe in next release it would be GA, and a lot of our work to move from lot of work over basically we have to do to move our classic page to the Lightning would be reduced. So this is also one of the very good, I will say, pretty impressive feature we have. One more information here is like Salesforce is also working on one Chrome extension. I really don't have the exact URL because it is again in a pilot. And what that Google Chrome extension will do is it will show you on runtime that this, if you use the Lightning style sheet equals true or false on the production, how the page will behave. One thing we have to observe here is in the source code, everything is Apex form. Everything is out of the box. Sometimes we add our own style sheet. So if you see here, we should be we have a tab style. So if we add our own custom style sheets, our own CSS, then Salesforce is not going to handle that, of course, because that is a custom. So that is something, one problem could arise if you already have a custom Visualforce page and you want to convert automatically to the Lightning. Other than that, if you are on standard side, you're pretty much covered with the next few release. Debug log. So this I will say is one of my feature. Again, the reason I have added in this slide is debugging on production Salesforce instance are very hard. You cannot go and directly create a sample data on production. In that case, you have to collect a lot of log on Salesforce production, go through those logs, try to understand what is going on your Apex code or the Visualforce or any integration. Now, before winter 18, we had a 50 MB limit of log, and if you didn't hit 50 MB space of the log, it will stay in a system indefinitely. Now, once the limit is reached, your old logs would automatically start get deleting. So you have to understand that 50 MB is our limit, overall limit for your org before winter 18. Now, what winter 18 did is it did a little bit change. So first of all, your logs would not be saved for indefinite time. It would be stored in Salesforce only for 7 days. So I'm not sure if it's a good news or bad news. You can have a process to collect all your log within a 7 day. There are a lot of tool available to back up your debug logs from Salesforce. But the good news is in 15 minutes, you can have up to 250 MB of logs collected. So imagine every 15 minutes, you are collecting 250 MB log. In 7 days, how much log you can have. So before Windows 18, you can have overall log 50 MB. After winter 18, every 15 minutes, you can collect till 250 MB logs, which would stay in your system for 7 days. So I will say that's a huge improvement, at least from the debug log side. And if we reach, let's say 250 MB in a 15 minutes, all Salesforce will do is it will disable the trace flag and it will send a notification to the user who last modified that. So that's from the debug log side. Now flow. So let's jump into the flow. What are the changes on the flow? What I will do is I will go on setup. I have created a very simple visual flow for this demo purpose. So I will search for flow. This is the flow. Winter 18 demo con flow. This is I have created. And let me open this flow, third version. Okay, so this is very simple flow. All I have here is a record lookup. So basically, what it will do, I have created a variable name as account ID, and it will get an account record where that record ID matches, and it will populate the account name field, account name variable. So if we go on the Explorer, I have only two variable, account name and a record ID, and this is a simple screen I have on Visual Flow. And all this screen is saying, hey all, I'm your friend, Flow Winter 18, that information. And if there is any record ID populated, it will populate, it will display the record ID here. If there is any account name populated, it will display the account name here. Now, most of the time we don't give the attention to flow. And I think the reason we don't give attention to flow is once you create a flow, the question is, how would you use it? So what you have to do is you have to go through the URL hacking, or you have to encapsulate your flow into the Visualforce page and distribute your visual flow. So basically you cannot, I mean, in order to use the flow directly, you have to know the URL, or otherwise you have to wrap it up in a Visualforce. Because of that, I mean, adaptation is a little bit problem. Now, what Salesforce did here in Winter 18 is they exposed flow in a object-based action as well. So I can go, and this is again a beta feature, so it's still not yet a generally available. We don't know when it would be. So you see that I have created a custom action, a button here, flow action. I click here and it will open my flow. Now you can see how pretty the look and feel. It's a lightning look and feel. It is rendering my same text saying, hey all, I'm your friend, whatever I have written here. Now the thing is, there is no record ID here, no account name here, so that's fine. We have not passed those information yet, but at least we can see that how the flow is getting rendered, and end user pretty sure will not understand that this is a flow or a lightning component or a standard. I mean, the end user experience is very seamless and very pleasant. So this is the one of the good enhancement of the flow. You can add a custom button, add object specific, and what you can do is let me go on home. In fact, I can go on object manager. So I'm going on object manager. I will open an account. I will go on button link and action here. I will say create a new action, and in new action we see the multiple action type, and this is the new action type, beta flow, and this is the name of our flow which we have created. It will show you the list of all the flows which you have in your org. So that's one of the enhancement Salesforce has come up with the flow in Winter 18. Let's go on the next slide. So we already discussed here that flow is here from many years, but not much adaptation, and because you have to know the URL or you have to encapsulate in VF, but at least exposing a flow at action level will increase its adoption for sure. Now, this is the next. Salesforce has come up with the flow component. That means you can use a flow directly in your app builder. So let's go on demo again. So I am on the account page. I am going on app builder. I will go edit page. And here we see the flow component. This is the newly component added in Winter 18. And I can drag and drop this component. Wait. Yeah. I can drag and drop this component here at the top. And I can set up, okay, is it a 1 column or the 2 column? And the best part is it can this component automatically detects that how many variables are in flow. So like I said that I have a 2 variable, account name and record ID. And this is the option which says you can pass a record ID to this flow directly. So I use this checkbox saying, okay, let's do one thing. Let's pass the record ID if this account record directly to the flow. And if you remember, if we get a record ID, we will automatically display the account name as well because of the lookup component. So I will save it. Let's go back on page. Okay, so here this is a flow, and I am your friend. All information, record ID is here and account name is here, and that's all. So now one thing to notice here, this flow is the same flow as of an action. So now the difference between these two flow is this flow is not able to get the record ID and name because there is no way, at least I'm not able to pass the record ID in the action. However, if we use a flow lightning component, we can pass the record ID, and on the basis of record ID, our flow is efficient enough to give the account name or to populate the account name here. Now, one pretty interesting question I got from Pankaj, is it a good to use the flow instead of the coding? So one thing in a Salesforce, okay,
Jitendra, I have a follow-up question as well. We are developing a product and are interested in knowing, we are in the decision phase whether we should use a trigger or a flow for
Okay.
for functionality. So we are a little bit dicey because you cannot remove a flow from the managed package once it is inside there.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, so if we are talking about the managed package, right, and the chances are high that you are going to change, then in that scenario, the flow is not the right solution, okay? Because here you need more flexibility, right? But let's say if you're not in managed package and you're in org, and if you have a full control of org, unlike in managed package, flow is a way to, like, I mean, it depends situation to situation. If you're not expecting that much change, always point and click is better than code in Salesforce, if you can go with the point and click. But in your situation, if that is the case, then flow would not be the right answer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I have one more question which is related to Lightning Data Service. Not sure if this is the right time or we can ask at the end of session.
Yeah, just 5 minutes. That's last slide is pending, and then we can go with the question.
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. So let's go back. So that's flow, and this is the two interesting feature. Even though it's not the developer related stuff, I wanted to cover it because it is very important. Like said, every Salesforce developer is an admin first. So custom templating using the Lightning component. Let's go on the demo direct. I will directly go on demo, and then I will show basically. So what I will do is I will open the app builder. Lightning app builder we have, and right now I have 3 page. I will create a new Lightning page. And there are 3 type of the Lightning pages we can create: app page, home, or the record page. I'm going to say, okay, let's go with the app page. And I will say demo winter 18. Now we can see that these are the standard page layouts or the templating provided by the Salesforce, that left side, right side, and everything. However, there is one section custom, and we have one custom as well. And this is something because of the winter 18. Now, from the winter 18 onwards, you can have your own layout built using Lightning component. Right now, I don't have provided any icon, so icon is not appearing here. So if I go back here, it is pretty simple. It is just saying that there's 2 column, left column and the right column. You can see the left column is a little bit more width, right column is small in width, and I can drag and drop pretty anything here, and I can save it. So I will not do anything here, just to show you that this is the layout which is created completely by the Lightning component. Very simple, just 2 column, but you can come up with as per your requirement and your creativity, and you can come up with a lot of other different type of the layouts. So if I go back, okay, and I will show you this layout in action. I will open a app which I have created for one of my developer group meet. That's a Connecticut developer group meet. And nice. So here you see one tab, custom template. So this is the tab, and that has just a 2 column. As you can see, this is again flow which I have created. I have provided the ID here, and this is the rich text box. So this is the layout we have created using Lightning component. Like, we can do any kind of the permutation and the combination here, and let's see how we did it. So I will open template. So it's a pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use. So all we have to do is we have to implement app, home. So like I said, there are 3 type of the templates you can have: app, home, and record. So different type of the interfaces are available. You can provide the description. Now what we are saying that there would be left region and there would be right region. Left region would be having aura component, right region would be having aura component. And you can see that we have a layout tag, and then we have layout item tag. So we are saying, okay, there is going to be a layout. It would be divided into the two part, left and the right, and these left and right would be the aura component. So this is one case. Then we have to define a decision, and we have to define a design, and then design will say that on the left side its default width would be medium, and the right side the default width would be small. And that is the reason we saw that the left size is maximum than the right one side. So, and like this flexi page, it has a parent as a template. Template can have a multiple region, and then region will have a form factor. So form factor basically would be like on the basis of device specific, basically saying that, okay, device is a medium, then make its width as well small. So this width and this width, both width would be small. So you can come up with the like device agnostic solution where the same page can be rendered differently on the desktop and the same page can be rendered differently on the tablets or the small devices. So that's all from the custom. I mean, the good amount of the documentation is available on the Salesforce site document. So we can just go through there and we can understand, and we can dig into more on this detail. So this is, I will say, one of my last favorite feature in winter 18, and that's all we are done. So resources, I will say first two best resources are your org itself. Whatever is your domain, just go on component reference suite.app and then aura docs. Then winter 18 reference guide, of course, steps to go, and then the developer forum we have to go. And that's all for the today's session. Thank you very much for attending this, and please follow Farmington Developer Group on Twitter, Meetup, Facebook page, like it, comment it, and we can discuss questions now. I'm all yours, guys. Yeah, let's discuss.
Yeah, guys, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly to Jitendra Zaa, or if you want, you can type your question on the chat window so that we can read and we'll try to answer you.
Hey Jitendra, Pawan here.
Yeah, hey Pawan.
Hey, so I have a question. Like my client, it's hard to convince a client because to go for lightning, because every release something is coming, and whichever we developed in the past, it can happen easily. Like you showed us that lightning is equal to true check component. So is it a good time to move to lightning, or we should wait for more time?
Oh, so yeah, that's a pretty tough question, I will say. So I totally agree with you that, I mean, unlike in Visualforce time or the classic time, whenever the new release was coming, the chances were very low at that time that your existing code is going to break. Unlike in Lightning, my current org is in the Lightning org. So it's like from like 1 year back itself, we switched to the Lightning, and we faced a lot of challenge, frankly. In fact, this recent Lightning broke a lot of our existing component because of the background themes and all those stuff. Even though Salesforce suggested in advance saying that they are going to change the SLDS, but yeah, there is a huge impact. Now this lightning equals to true, okay, that flag which is automatically rendering of Visualforce page to the lightning, that is not generally available. So if that is your decision factor and you're thinking that that would help you to drive convincing your client to go on lightning, I would suggest you to wait for that to be generally available. And once that feature is generally available, like I said, Salesforce is coming up with the Google Chrome extension. So without changing any code, you can directly go on the classic production. You can use that Google Chrome extension, and on the runtime, you can determine that how your classic Visualforce page is going to look into the Lightning experience. If all your pages looks good, you are good to go on the Lightning, because there still parity problem in Lightning components, and one of the major problem I will say is the translation workbench. I mean, that's my opinion. Unlike in Visualforce page, we have a language attribute where we can decide the language of the Visualforce page, right? But not in Lightning component. You can of course have a custom label in place, but that custom label will only be derived from the login user's language, but we will not have full. I mean, that is one scenario. There are a couple of scenario like territory management, automatic assignment is not working in the Lightning, so they are pretty different. So I will say switching to the Lightning would be completely depending on your client. If you understand that, okay, these are the problems, these are the gaps, if you are good with the gap, you should go. If you see the developer notes, right, from the last 3 or 4, there are very few features available in the Apex or the Visualforce. Almost everything is coming in the Lightning experience, correct?
I agree.
So
Yeah.
sooner or later we have to go there, but I will not suggest this is the time for you. If you have a lot of Visualforce pages, let's wait for that feature to be available as a GA.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Hi, Jitendra, Gaurav this side.
Yeah. Hey, Gaurav.
Yeah, I just want to know, is there any anything we can use lookup field on the Lightning component? Any component for lookup field as well?
No. So lookup field, there is no standard lookup field available for the Lightning, at least at this time, right? But I have created a lookup field on my blog, okay, and I have provided a demo. So look, you can just go.
Yeah, I have used that, but I was facing problem in pre-populating that.
Pre-populating the lookup. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So maybe we can discuss offline, because when I test, you can see, right, this is a pre-populated lookup I have. Maybe I have to change something on my code itself. Okay, that we can discuss offline. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. I will check for the pre-populated one. Any other question?
Yes, Jitin, just a question from Lightning data service. So just like in VS page, we have a standard controller and we can have extensions. So what is the behavior of extending the Lightning data services?
That's a good question. Give me 1 minute. Okay, you can still see my screen, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So I will open account edit. So if you see that account edit component, this is the data service, right? So this will act as a kind of the, I will say, the standard controller. But if you need some extra logic, right, you can anytime on your component define the Apex control. Right now, I don't have any Apex controller. You can define it, and it could work as a controller extension for sure.
Okay.
I mean, there is no restriction on defining the data service and the controller at the same time. You can have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. That's all from my side.
Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. It's a good response. I understand it's a weekend, and hopefully Amit will come up with something pretty new and impressive for the next session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jitendra, and giving the time over the weekend. I know, like after office work and everything, it's really tough to get sit on the Saturday. But yeah, we really appreciate all these things. So, hi guys. So I will going to upload this PPT and recording on my blog and as well on the meetup page. So if you want to look into that in future, you can look into that. So thank you everyone for joining us. So most probably next month we will again come back with one new topic. Thank you everyone.
Yeah, thanks guys. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.